Today we're going to look at how to make tracks in MX Simulator. This is going to be used using the regular in-game editor. So a brief overview is part 1 is going to be some folder explanations and file settings that we may want to know of before we start making tracks and painting the track. Let's get started. First off, you want to have the blank tracks. When you download, it's this file. It's going to get you the SAF creator if you want to create SAF files, decals, and these two are the tracks. I chose to put the decals in a separate folder because then you won't have to download it twice. So let's get into it. I am going to use the 2049 foot track for my tutorial. So I'm going to copy this track, go to my personal folder. Note that it's supposed to be the personal folder. If you put it in the C folder or program files folder or whatever you want to call it, it will get messed up. So you want to have this path, users, username, app data, local, MX Simulator, and we want to, we already have them. So we're going to paste. And here it is, and we may want to change the name, so I'm going to name this. No, I'll stick with the name for a little bit. Some programs you may want to have in addition to MX Simulator is Photoshop or GIMP. I prefer Photoshop, and you want to have Notepad++. You can do it with a regular Notepad, but I prefer the Notepad++, and you just search for np++. Go to the first link, notepad++.org. Go to the download section, and you probably want to get the Notepad installer and just install the Notepad++. So again, we're going to go into here, blank track 2049. So this desk file is changing the name in-game. So I'm going to name this Trackmaking tutorial. Also, I'm going to put a few exclamation marks in front here so it goes to the top. So I'm going to save, and then you see it turns blue. I can close this down. Let's go over some other files. So what are all these files in here then? This I have really not an idea, but timing gates, it contains where the timing gates is, start gates and a little bit of that. Tile map is, you'll see that in game. Tile info is traction, pretty much texture list. This is the terrain. Right now it's black, so it's blank. Terrain.hf contains some information about the terrain. This is that it is a 2049 terrain. If I would put that, the terrain and shading need to be at 1025. This is mean that 1 pixel is 1 foot. This is the lowest point is 0 foot. The highest point is 100 foot. However, this will change if we edit in game. So unless you're using Photoshop, you won't need to worry about those. So I'm not going to save that. No, I don't want to save that. Status for status, shading is for shading, mud is just a file containing mud texture, map is if you want to have a minimap, lightning is contains the lightning, flaggers is flaggers, desk is the in-game name file. This contains the information about the decals, and this contains the information about the billboards. So that's just a brief overview. Here's just some other files that the track uses, but more on that later. Here's just other things. So let's get the editor. I'm using this shortcut. I also have the shortcut down here, as you can see, but the thing is it doesn't contain the editor. So we want to go to properties and target. We want to add space dash dash 2 dashes dash dash editor. You want to click apply. You want to click OK. So if I would open up the game now, it would not work. So I will need to unpin this program and drag this one back on. and that's how we get it work. So let's open up the editor. So now we have opened up the game, and let's search for our track. So let's see here, and we have dash 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 track making tutorial. So this is our track that we want to open. So let's click on that one. So open. So here it is, the new track making track. It looks completely awesome. Or not. So to get into the editor mode, we will press tab, and then we will have this showing. Okay, so it's just messing up here, but that's not a problem. Basically, some basic controls is zoom, just zooms in and out. Strength doesn't do anything visually yet, but when we have lower, smooth, smudge, those tools, it makes a difference. Focus, as you can see, the round, the inner circle goes up and down, so now it's small, and now it is very big. And focus is also a feature we'll come to a little bit later. Radius is just how big you want the circles to be, and if you want it small. So if we look at here, actual radius is 64 foot for the outer circle, and it is 32 foot for the inner circle. Actual strength is 2. I'm not sure really what that means, but it is. And as how this works is we have the like a coordinate system. So as you can see here, there is coordinates. So here we have pretty much 0 and 0, and here we have 2049 and 2049, and this looks like there's just some changes in the elevation, but we'll get to that later. So now we want to paint the track. We go to tile map edit, which is also the traction, and if we look here, we can see that we have some different tiles. This is dirt or mud. We have grass, we have sand, and we have a white. And all these are supposed to have different traction. So let's paint everything over. It's just a left click and paint. So let's see here. Pretty much everything. Let's paint this part too. So let's zoom in again. And here's our starting gate. It's 40 gates, I think. And now we want to paint the track. And this is going to be a fairly simple track. So let's start by making the start the right traction. Just like that. And then we'll zoom out a little bit. And as you can see here, 64 feet. That's a really wide motocross track. So we want to make this smaller. Then we go to radius, and I think 20 would be pretty good. It's still pretty wide, at least to me, but it's fairly good. Can use 21 or something. So let's paint. Have a nice starting straight and make a left turn. So this is pretty much just painting where the traction should be. And this looks really ugly, but we're going to fix that later, so don't have any worries. So let's press tab again to see here. That seems okay. And you see the thing over there, you can just ignore that. So that's a pretty much start straight, and we can make a 180 turn here and see. And this looks like a pretty okay width of the track, so we'll stick with that one. And it's around 21 foot, 2150. So let's paint a track here. I think we could do just as I said, this is just a tutorial track, so it's not something super awesome, so it will be ugly. Something like that, not too advanced. So that's pretty much how you paint your track. Different people use different techniques when it comes to painting. Some people prefer to just have the whole area in one color and then just make the track. For me, it's pretty hard to see where you should go, so I always like to make several colors. So here we have the regular color, the dirt, and here we have the grass. And an important thing too is when you've made some changes you're happy with, don't forget to save, because that's really important. It's never fun to have a track where you're really satisfied and have forgot to save. So that has happened to me a few times and it's always as frustrating. So in the next tutorial we're going to go over some tools, and depending on how that goes we're maybe going to make some jumps and berms too. But we'll see. So stick around for the second tutorial.